There is no provincial service tax in Alberta. It is easy to build a community in Saskatchewan. Edmonton's population is the whole of Saskatchewan's population. I've been trying to look at it like the cost of living. I can't really see a difference. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Yemisi. For those that are just seeing my face for the very first time, I currently live in Edmonton, Alberta, and I make videos about immigration. I create vlogs and just everything about immigration basically. So I'm finally doing the highly requested video about where you can live in Canada, whether Alberta or Saskatchewan. So those are the two provinces that we'll be looking at. I feel like the reason why people have been asking me this is because I recently moved from Saskatchewan down to Alberta. Just a quick background story. When I came to Canada, I came for study. I was studying at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. Then I moved to Regina to work, and now I am in Edmonton, Alberta to work as well. I believe that's where the questions are coming from. But again, I want to let you guys know, more like a quick disclaimer, whatever I'm saying is my own opinion. Don't take my word for it. I would advise you to watch till the end of the video and then you can make your best choice. I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons here and there. I recently just moved down here 2 months ago. I was living in Saskatchewan for almost 3 years, so it would have been 3 years this April. So that's the lens I want you guys to look at it. And also because it's not going to be like fair to compare these two, I'm going to be looking at the obvious things, so nothing too deep in terms of cost of living, places to live, or just the place in general. So yeah, without further ado, let us go into this video. What I feel might really interest you to know is that Edmonton's population is the whole of Saskatchewan's population. I think it's like 1.4 thereabouts. I'll put the correct stat on the screen. That's the population of Edmonton alone, and Edmonton is the capital of Alberta. That's one major difference. But more like there are not a lot of people in the cities in Saskatchewan compared to this area. Also, in the last 1 or 2 years, there's been a huge migration of people moving into the country and landing in Alberta, and people also emigrating from other provinces into Alberta, majority from Ontario and British Columbia. The second one, which is my favorite, is there is no provincial service tax in Alberta. Generally, there is a 5% GST, good service tax, on things you purchase that is eligible for GST. Alberta do not charge provincial service tax. What that means is that whenever you are buying anything, the only tax you'll be charged for your item would be the good service tax. So you don't get the provincial service tax, which is 6% in Saskatchewan and 8% in Ontario. Those are the two provinces that I know. You can always check online, or I'll leave the link in the description box that tells you percentage for provincial service tax in other provinces. The next thing I wanted to say is I'm going to say this one lightly because that's just me, but I've never heard of den before in Saskatchewan. So when you are getting an apartment, of course you'll see 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. Not until when I got here, then I realized that there's something called dens. When I went to Ontario, they also made mention of dens. Those things were alien to me when I came to Alberta, because I'm just like 2 bed, 2 bath. How many bathroom, how many, you know? That den is like an addition to the house, and to me I really love it because it's more like a space for maybe your office space. You can also use the place for your dining room, because usually the apartments here come with a living room but not necessarily a dining area, just the cabinet, and then you just put bar stools to sit and, you know, lean on the cabinets, like the kitchen cabinet. That's something that I've noticed here that I never saw in Saskatchewan. Another thing is, in Saskatchewan we do not have trains to commute. What we have is the buses within the city and also the buses outside of the city, but we don't have trains. And personally I feel like trains would have made life much easier. It's understandable because places in Saskatchewan are not so far apart. When I was moving down to Edmonton, I was like, what? Why is the road this wide? Oh, this place is really big compared to where I'm coming from. So I guess that's why they need that train to commute. The train is always there. I think it runs every 5 minutes or 10 minutes depending on where you're going to. So I like the idea of the train. We didn't have that in Saskatchewan. I mean, that's not really a problem considering the fact that places are not so far apart. In terms of commuting, buses here run every 5 to 10 minutes depending on where you live. Again, in Saskatchewan, specifically Saskatoon and Regina, buses will run every 20 minutes, meaning if you miss your bus around this time, before you can get another bus, then it's going to take another 20 minutes. And don't forget that sometimes the buses can also be delayed. In this area as well, there are places where the buses run every 5 minutes, but there are also places that the buses run every 10 minutes. But I think that's the max. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I think that's the max that I've heard. Like I said, depending on where you stay. I see buses frequently here compared to where I'm coming from in Saskatchewan. Again, I love Saskatchewan so much. I'm going to go to one of the pros that I feel like is very, how do I put it now, like it's something that I really cherish till date, especially as a new immigrant in Canada. Buses here run frequently compared to the places that I have lived. Again, the places that I have lived in Saskatchewan. The next point is that it is easy to build a community in Saskatchewan. And again, this is my personal opinion. Coming in as an immigrant, especially as a student or even as a family, you know, maybe you're coming in with your family members, I personally think that because Saskatchewan is not so big, like the cities are not so big, it's easy for you to find your person. It's easy for you to build a community. Like I always tell people, when I landed in Saskatoon, aside the friends that I connected with online and we started living together, you can just be on the road sometimes and somebody can just be nice to you. I don't know, those are some of the characteristics of living in a smaller area. You tend to build community easily and it makes you feel more comfortable. It just gives you this sort of, you have people around. Because generally abroad, I don't know what you have known about abroad, but compared to Africa where I'm coming from, the community here is not so huge. I was telling one of my colleagues recently, when I first landed in Canada, I was really shocked. Like culture shock hit me so hard because back where I'm coming from, if a new person comes to the area, everybody is like eager to welcome you and make you feel comfortable. So people will even reach out to you and say, if you need help with this and this is where you should go. Over here is like you're getting your apartment. If you are living by yourself, then that's just it. You're gonna lock your door afterwards and be indoors, and that's just the lifestyle here. So personally, I think living in a smaller area helped me to feel more comfortable and overcome my fears, you know, easily. That's just my opinion. I mean, if I came here directly for study, I also won't have a choice, but I won't lie to you. Sometimes when I'm on the train or on the bus and I see younger people, of course, I can kind of tell if they are going to school and also where they are light from. I'll just be like, oh my God, so this person is a student, and you know, it's just like you're thrown into the ditch. That is my personal opinion, you guys. The community in Saskatchewan personally is a lot bigger than here. In terms of cost of living, this one, I've been trying to look at it like the cost of living, I can't really see a difference. I feel like it's about the same. And again, a lot of people will say the cost of living in Edmonton is a lot lesser. Maybe not a lot, but it's cheaper to live in Edmonton than Calgary. I've not lived in Calgary, but Edmonton is a government hub. Calgary is like the private industry area, so it makes sense. In terms of cost of living, there's really no more difference when I compare Saskatchewan and Alberta. The only difference is the tax that you get, and it's not so huge depending on the item you are purchasing. And I'm taking my time to explain this, so please pardon me. Another thing that I wanted to also touch on is Edmonton has high-rise buildings compared to Saskatchewan. When I first landed in Canada, I came in during COVID period. So I landed in Toronto and I had to stay there for 3 days, more like quarantine, before the 20 days quarantine in Saskatchewan. When I was coming down, see, even from the air, I was like, wait, where is this place? The difference was so clear. I find that when I moved down here and I traveled to Toronto recently, the difference wasn't that huge. Yeah, maybe the high-rise buildings are not a lot like Ontario or Toronto now, but I see a lot of high-rise buildings downtown, and the roads are also wide. Downtown is also rugged and busy like Toronto downtown. So coming back to Saskatchewan versus Alberta, there are not so many high-rise buildings, and even the high-rise are not really high. Maybe like 15-story buildings, and I'm not even sure I've seen 15-story, but let me just say 15-story buildings. I even find that Edmonton downtown looks pretty similar. I've never been to the UK before, but I watch a lot of YouTubers, so some of those streets gives me European vibe in a way. I'm talking too much, that's me digressing. But yeah, also downtowns, if you're the type that loves the busy life, I'll say you have to come down to Alberta, because the day I went to Edmonton downtown, I was like, what is going on here? It was around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and it was still very much busy. Our friend, which was like our tour guide that was taking us around, was saying you need to come here in the midnight. But back in Saskatchewan, again, specifically Regina and Saskatoon, once it's 7 p.m. and everybody, like, you can't see nobody. You can't. Worse still in winter, once it's 4 5 p.m. you can't see anyone. But if you are the type that loves that, you know, high life kind of place, then I would say you already know where to go to, because Saskatchewan is more cool, calm. It doesn't give a city vibe, it gives a community vibe, town life kind of vibe. Hey guys, I am currently editing this video and realized I did not talk about two major things that I personally feel like a lot of people will be interested in. First one is the weather. I'm sure you might be wondering what's the temperature like in the two provinces. They are both prairie provinces. Prairie provinces are Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. So you would pretty much expect the same kind of weather. A few days ago it was snowing heavily and we're not expecting snow, and it was also snowing in Saskatoon. So it's sort of like the same. And also when I traveled to Calgary in 2022, like I mentioned in the video, it was also cold, chilly, same level of snow, temperature and all of that. So it's basically the same. Another thing that I feel like will interest a lot of people would be partying, fun life in the two provinces. This one, it is an easy pick. Alberta has more fun loving things to do compared to Saskatchewan. For example, the Calgary Stampede Festival that occurs every July happens in Alberta, right? A lot of the African artists that come to Canada go to popular buzzing cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Quebec, Montreal. Whenever they think of coming to the prairie provinces, the first place they think of is Alberta. So it could be either Edmonton or Calgary. It's an easy pick. Not until late last year was when we started having people come down to Saskatchewan to perform. So we had Basket Mouth last year. It's just beginning to open up because of the growing Black community there. Compared to here, like I said, in the population, the other one that I wanted to mention is job opportunities. Alberta is a bigger province. Alberta has more job opportunities than Saskatchewan. And it just makes sense, right? Because of the population, there are a lot more job opportunities in Alberta than in Saskatchewan. I hope that these points are helpful in making your decision. So let us go back into the video. So the other one that I wanted to talk about, Edmonton is very big. Places are far off from each other. Let us even talk about it. Edmonton is so big. 20 minutes if you are in Saskatchewan, whether Regina or Saskatoon, and your place is 20 minutes away from where I'm coming from, you'll definitely be complaining because you'll be like, oh my god, that is far. Because that's obviously far. In Saskatoon or Regina, 20-30 minutes to wherever you are going to is like you already getting out of the city. Whereas in Edmonton, that's like you just going from one area to another area, because that's how wide apart or far apart everywhere is. The west is so far from the north. Somebody was coming to visit me recently and the person said it's like 40 something minutes. I'm like, don't worry, we'll probably see some other time. To me, I'm like, 40 something minutes come down here, and that's by car. I'm not talking about bus or whatever, because with buses they go round and round and round. I'm talking car, like using Uber to come down here. It's far. Last but not the least, I wanted to talk about rent. I find that in Edmonton, and I don't know if it's the same with other cities in Alberta, but here in Edmonton, the cost of living of a 1 bed and a 2 bed, there's not so much difference. For example, 1 bed, 1 bath can be 1,300, 1,400. 2 bed, 2 bath can be 1,516. And I'm like, I would rather 2 bed, 2 bath. Like, what are we saying? Like that. The answer is very obvious. Compared to Regina and Saskatoon, well, it depends on where you are also looking for an apartment. But I'm just saying, on the average, there's still a significant difference, which, I mean, favors the 2 bed, 2 bath people. You can always get someone to fill the second bedroom. That's cost saving. Those are the things that have stood out to me so far. Like I said, I was going to touch on the obvious things. If you have any other question, let me know in the comment section. If you have ever lived in Alberta, Saskatchewan, please let us know other differences, pros, cons in the comment section, because I know this is going to help a lot of people. With all of these things that I've said, these differences, I believe that this can help you choose the province you would be heading towards. I mean, if you're coming as a student, you may not really have the option of where to go to, because you might be looking at, oh, the requirements of the school, the tuition cost and all of that. But if you're coming in as a permanent resident, especially as a federal skilled worker, you can live anywhere. So all of these points can help you choose or select where you can live in, depending on your personality or whatever you want. And yeah, I believe that's it. So I hope that this video is helpful. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.